Hello, Adventure Trail Seekers. Good to see you again. Welcome to the second episode titled A Quest for Water. So, like I was saying at the end of the first episode, with all that work building the shelter, I'm really thirsty. I'm sure you are too. So, we're going to go out, we're going to look for water that we can drink out here. And we're going to talk about all the water issues, the water decisions that we have to make in order to make sure that we are healthy in looking for the water that we need to live. So, join me on this adventure. We're going to go look for wild water that we can drink. Look what I found, Adventure Trail Seekers. Beautifully clear, clean water. Perfect for drinking. Right, look at it. Just there isn't any. I mean, it looks perfectly clean, just like it came out of the faucet. Look at that. So, what do you think? Who thinks I can just drink this out of the creek, just like it is, even though it looks really clean, right? Well, it might be, but it might not be. You can never just drink water out of a flowing stream without first purifying it. And that is where next episode about fire comes in. Boiling water gets rid of all the parasites, the bacteria, viruses, everything. Not, well, almost everything. If there are pollution things in it like oil, chemicals, that won't get rid of that. So, that's why it's so important, guys, that we don't dump pollution sources like that into or near our local waterways. Because guess what? Do you think wildlife can filter their water like we can? Do you think they got a Brita filter back in the cave? No, probably not. Also, even people, if you're putting pollution in your own water, that's going to be a problem for you, just like it is for wildlife. Not every type of pollution is easy to remove. It could take thousands of dollars and months of work to figure out where a pollution source like that is coming from, and then eliminating it from your well water. So we're going to keep looking here for water that we can drink without necessarily having to boil it. So what I'm looking for is, it's called a spring. A spring is where water comes right out of the ground. Now that kind of water is going to be much more likely to be pure than this kind of water, even though this looks perfectly clean. Alright, the problem is there could be a dead animal in the creek upstream. There could be any number of pollution sources that went into this water that I can't see. So the reason why I'm looking for a spring is when the water comes right out of rocks or right up from under the ground, the odds of it being polluted with viruses and bacteria are almost zero. That being said, it's never a good idea to drink wild water unless you have to, without purifying it first. Okay, so I don't want you guys to think, oh, wow, I can just go out and drink all the water I want out of the environment, no big deal. You could get really sick if you don't know what you're doing. So I would suggest you never drink wild water without an adult to tell you if it's safe, and even then, you might not want to do it without some sort of filter, some sort of way to purify it, either boiling. There's a lot of different tablets you can buy to make it safe. So let's keep looking and see if we can find a spring along the way that at least will get us in the ballpark for if we get in a situation where we have no other choice but to drink the best water we can find. Hello again. For we keep looking for the spring I was telling you about, I wanted to show you something really quick about how important trees are to keeping our water clean. So I'm going to turn you around. Check out all those roots right there. I mean, tons of roots, hundreds of them. And look at the trees. Look at how tall and big those trees are. Now, those roots, guess what they're doing? They're hanging on to that soil on that bank. That without those trees, if those trees weren't there, guess where that soil would go? Down the bank and into the water. I don't know about you, but I would not want to drink water that looked like chocolate milk, right? If it was loaded with soil. Soil is actually our #1 pollution source for our water in Pennsylvania, probably New York too. You might think, oh, how can soil be a pollution source, right? It's not like it's toxic, usually. Right? You plant food in soil. How could that be bad? The problem is when it gets to be really, really concentrated in the water turns brown. I'm sure we've all seen that after a big flood. The Susquehanna River or a lot of our creeks, they'll look like chocolate milk, right? The problem with that is that really high soil content in the water, it drowns things out. Those trout that you're fishing for right now, trout season is open in a lot of places. Those trout can't survive in that water. That's full of soil. You know, a lot of animals can't survive in it. So if you like fishing, you like drinking clean water, you know, it's always a wise use of resources to keep trees planted right next to water, right next to a creek in the river. That's called a buffer. And it works just the same as what I'm showing you over here in the woods here to keep that water clean. It keeps the soil out of the water. So that's why it's so important to keep trees near water, growing near water, to keep the soil out. And the roots, man, those roots filter water like you wouldn't believe. All right, so let's keep looking for that spring and see if we can find it. Eureka! I think we found what we're looking for. Check this out. Now if you look, the water, really clean. You can see it coming right out of the ground. See that? Now if we look, you can see it flowing too. So we know that it's not just a puddle. Alright? If we look uphill, there's no stream bed here either. It's just bare soil. So it's not like it's just an underground creek that dried up for a couple of feet. Okay? There's no, if we look back here, there's no creek bed anywhere that would trick us into thinking this is a spring when it's just a creek that's covered up with leaves at the moment. So this, if I had to drink water in the woods without purifying it, this would be what I would look for. Alright? Because the ground, the soil, the trees, everything filters the water, gets the bacteria out, viruses, parasites, all that stuff isn't in there. So if you look at it again, look at that. It comes right out of the ground. That's what you want for a spring. That being said, because I don't have to drink this water to survive, I would still want to purify it. That would lead us into the next episode on the challenge of building a fire in the woods with nothing but all natural materials. So join me on the next episode where we build a fire to purify water and talk about how it's a tool for conservation. Also, you might be wondering, what do I do if I don't have a container to boil the water in? That's a really good question, because you might not have a metal pot out here in the woods. I'm going to teach you how to build a container out of tree bark that you can use to boil water if you have to. Join me on the next adventure of the Adventure Trail.